Now, things are not going well for the deep state. We know that Q has already informed us that Trump kind of let loose the FISA memo on Carter Page. And House Intel Committee Chair Devin Nunes said on Sunday that the American people will be shocked when the redacted portion of Carter Page's FISA warrant application are revealed. He said, "We are quite confident that once the American people see these 20 pages, at least for those who will get real reporting on this issue, they will be shocked at and by what's in the FISA application," implying that the public may one day see an unredacted copy of the FISA memo. He said, "What's left that's redacted, the American people really do need to know what's underneath there." And I think what's happening right now is that bits and pieces of this is being let out so the American people hear it, they can digest it, because as we know, Q said if they just declassified and let everyone read the Inspector General's report, many of the people are going to be in shock. Many people are going to be rejecting it. And we know the mainstream media, they're not going to report on it whatsoever. So I think what's happening right now is a little bit is being let out at a time, getting the American public used to as much as they possibly can before they release the rest. We see Facebook right now. Well, it looks like Zuckerberg and Facebook, they are being sued, and it looks like this is being done by a group of individuals. The complaint was filed by a shareholder, James Karkaris, in Manhattan federal court, accused Facebook Zuckerberg and Chief Financial Officer David Werner of making misleading statements about a failing to disclose slowing revenue growth, falling operating margins, and declines in active users. Karkaris said the marketplace was shocked when the truth began to emerge about what the company was doing, that there was a 19% plunge in Facebook shares. The next day stemmed from federal securities law violations by the defendants. And we see at this point, Q told us about Facebook a while ago, and that this was going to happen to many other of the social media giants, where once they had this money flowing in from the intelligence agencies, from the government, well, it is drying up right now. And how are they going to operate? It's going to be very, very difficult. We see the TSA right now, they are tracking regular travelers like terrorists in a secret surveillance program. Federal air marshals have begun following ordinary U.S. citizens not suspected of a crime or any terrorist watch list and collecting extensive information about their movements and behavior under a new domestic surveillance program that is drawing a lot of criticism from those inside the agency. Now, this undisclosed program, it's called Quiet Skies, and it specifically targets travelers who are not under investigation by any agency and are not in terrorist screening databases. They're just picked out and they are basically investigated, followed. And this is kind of ridiculous, because what is the reasoning of all this? Remember, the terrorists were created by the intelligence community, the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, and the rest. These are not real terrorists. These are the paid mercenary armies, and they made the American people believe in these terrorists so they could create laws, take away our rights, and everything else. And we see right now that they're going to have a lot of trouble because the truth is starting to come out more and more. More people are starting to realize who the white helmets are, who Al-Qaeda is, who the Islamic State is, and they're not buying this information. And again, we don't need these individuals to follow everyday Americans. All this is one big brother trying to figure out why they should exist. And there's no reason they need to exist, because there's no reason to have them right now, because we don't have a terrorist problem. They created it to make us think we do have a problem, but we really don't. We see out in Pakistan, there's a new leader in Pakistan, Imran Khan, and this is a major political swing from the previous vote. And it's also an historic change from generations of power being consolidated dynastically between a handful of figures. And this was really a coup right now because they have a new leader, and this new leader would like to work with Afghanistan to strengthen the security between Afghanistan and Pakistan, looking to deal with other nations and really change a lot, actually, to work with India to have peace. So we see a lot happening here, and a lot of things are changing, and the people are getting fed up with the old leadership and bringing in new leadership. And we're starting to see this around the world. We see right now that the U.S. is working with Afghanistan. They're working on peace deals behind the scene. Right now, we see the U.S. is working with the Taliban. And I think what's happening is they're bypassing the Afghanistan government right now to get the ball rolling here. And remember, Ghani was put into power by John Kerry. They wanted this person in power because he signed the bilateral security agreement, which allowed the troops to stay in Afghanistan. And I think what's happening right now is they're trying to push this entire agenda forward by getting the peace deal worked out between the Afghanistan government and the Taliban. And it looks like the U.S. is giving up a lot of land over to the Taliban to speed this up. And I think what's going to happen here is we're going to hear about peace happening in Afghanistan. Now, of course, this might take a little while, but we see what's happening. Let's back up a little bit and look at Syria, look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan, look at North Korea. We're seeing peace all over the place. We see the Trump administration is urging patience in North Korea. Now, we see the corporate media is out there, and they are pushing a lot of different stories about how North Korea is developing an ICBM. North Korea is creating another missile. And once again, they're continually pushing this idea that now North Korea is going to forget about denuclearization, and they're going to move forward with creating missiles. They're going to be pointing them at the U.S., and this is their last-ditch effort. And when I say they, it's the deep state, to push this propaganda to make us believe that this is really happening. But think about it. Why would North Korea do this at this point? They have now economic ties with South Korea. We see the DMZ zone that is turning into a peace zone. They have economic deals with China, economic deals with the United States. Why would they do this at this point? It would not benefit them. And this is how you know that this is all propaganda. This is how you know they're pushing these ideas to make you think that these things are happening, but they're really not. And Q has also told us that most of the stories and the propaganda coming out of the mainstream media, well, they're fake, phony, and false. We see right now the last Islamic State stronghold in the southwest Syria has fallen right now, and we're getting to the point where the Islamic State, they will no longer exist in Syria, and Syria is going to control the entire southern portion of Syria, and Russia is going to be there. And eventually what's going to happen is the U.S. and all the other forces inside of Syria, there is no reason for them to be in there. We see Q has dropped many more breadcrumbs. Let's start off with 1741. This is July 28th. And it says, welcome to the No Borders, Pro-Pedo, Destroy ICE, Socialist Movement, Antifa, arm of Democratic Party, dark to light Q. And this photo came out a while ago as part of Mike Cernovich protest, but did you catch it? No pedo bashing NAMBLA. I don't think we need to say more than that. Now, the next post, well, this requires the conversation between Annans that took place before it, just to understand the context. So we pick up the conversation here. How did Q know just before Facebook crashed? Was it controlled? Was it the federal government doing the selling? Did they seize the assets of investors and then dump them? Are they doing one of the FANG a time. Domino's, big drop. Joe M says, Do you realize the pedophiles are going to be executed, right? This ain't no game of courts and time served for good behavior civilians BS. No, they are all facing a summary military death penalty. People will be shocked. Now, another anon said, a Trump government wouldn't dump enough FANG stock at once and cause a 21% drop. Irresponsible. And Trump wouldn't cause that kind of drop. Trump wouldn't tank them. FANG stocks are owned by every mutual fund in America. Fund managers likely figured out what was up with Facebook, Twitter, and dumped their holdings at earnings when there is a ton of volume traded. Who sold the stocks? SEC will investigate Facebook sell-off. Insider trading suspected. Peter Strzok's wife is the lead SEC investigator. Post 1742. Anonymous says, SEC will investigate Facebook sell-off. Insider trading suspected. Peter Strzok's wife is lead SEC investigator. Q says, follow the family. Gave a link to the SEC.gov news press release. Think texts between Peter Strzok and Melissa Hodgman, which is Peter Strzok's wife. Think past settlements. They have infiltrated every senior critical position, the circle. And remember, Melissa Hodgman, she's the top dog at the SEC. And the SEC investigation into Facebook, but with her still in place, I don't know if that's going to happen right now. So remember, Q said it's the circle. They have every senior critical position. This was all done on purpose. Post 1743. Anonymous Q. Will this still be the month the world discovered the truth? And what we Annans know is conspiracy no more. Q says, was the truth revealed? FISA dossier? Important marker. Think connections. D5 Q. Now, yes, some of the truth was mentioned, but the IG report is still redacted, it's still classified. A lot of the information is still redacted, and we really don't have all the information. It's not pushed out there, and we're waiting for it to be pushed out there. So if the important marker Q is referring to as D5, the question is, what is D5? Well, let's think about it. D5. Well, D is the fourth letter in the alphabet, A, B, C, D, and 45 equals Trump. Redacted FISA. Huber needs redacted to complete investigation. Unredacted FISA reveals connections to Clinton and company. Unredacted FISA lists names including no name. All are in the sealed indictments. Time coming soon to unseal indictments and release unredacted FISA for maximum impact on midterms. So that's what I think D5 stands for. Now, let's move on to post 1744. Q dropped quite a bit here. And we start off with Q. This is from December 4th, 2017. Have you been watching the news since Friday? Who is Peter Strzok? How was he compromised? How was he paid? Who is Melissa Hodgman? Company title, date of promotion, and it goes on and on and on. And this was back in December. And let's move on to post 1745, because Q is just rehashing everything that he told us about in December of 2017. And Q went on to say, and first it starts off with Anonymous, no, the truth was not revealed yet. FISA didn't have much impact, to be honest, or there is still something missing to it, which reveals the whole truth. So Q went on to say, FISA equals start. FISA equals immediate conf or illegal acts, RE signers. FISA equals immediate conf, start, or Hussein spy campaign. To rig an election was based on false info. FISA equals implicates Hillary Clinton, Democratic Party, as feeders of false info with the intent of securing the mainstream media blast insurance. FISA equals implicates senior members of UK MI5, MI6, SIS, U.S. Intel, White House, Five Eyes, Republican Party, Congress, Senate, of known corruption in effort to retain power and rig election, plus safeguard events by political kill to act while in power, given mainstream media fake push Russia narrative. FISA equals ties mainstream media heads, TV behind corp to Democratic Party or other foreign heads of state in co-op strategy. FISA brings down the House. Freedom of Information Act does not include FISA. Declassified by POTUS key parts that factually demonstrate the dirty fake dossier was used as primary source to secure highest level of intel spying on primary Republican opponent, plus post-election intel assets for DOM spying on the President of the United States for the office of the Presidency of the United States of America. Logical thinking, public awareness, FISA spying, foundation built Huber, no spelling errors intended, mobile, unknown if above, Q. And it looks like Q just went off on this from that anonymous post saying that all of this is being done, it's being pushed forward, and we're headed in the right direction. And the FISA was just the beginning. So if we move on to post 1746, which is July 28th, we see that Q takes what he just said, or she, or group of individuals, and adds to it. No matter what happens, the media will not push the truth. The mainstream media implicated in highest level treason event in U.S. modern day history. Refer back to previous posts. Witnessing highest level treason event unfold in U.S. modern day history. Have you ever witnessed so many Congress, Senate seats vacate in a short period of time? Have you ever witnessed so many CEO, BOD vacate events in short period of time? Have you ever witnessed the DOJ, FBI, what is known, fire, release, vacate events in a short period of time? Have you ever witnessed the vacating party, all positions, challenge, fight, push for the removal, the entering duly elected POTUS? Have you ever witnessed a former U.S. president travel the world ahead, behind of the current, attempting to undo, threaten, hide, cover up previous, current illegal corruption, evil events? Have you ever witnessed 40 to 50,000 sealed indictments, not all federal criminal? Have you ever witnessed so many pedo child EXP people going down? Have you ever witnessed a similar like group rise up, mimics Nazi Germany with similar like logo, push, etc.? Have you ever witnessed a DEFCON scare? Have you ever witnessed an unauthorized missile fired, photo evidence yet dismissed? Have you ever witnessed political foundations, REC hundreds of millions of dollars from specific terrorist sponsors, orgs, etc., only to immediately cease once out of power, all during the same period of time? Nothing is happening. Not fast enough? Do you not understand what we are currently dealing with? People are dying. We are under threat of kill every second of the day. Those who you trust the most are the most evil. This is not a game. Humanity is at stake. No spelling errors intended. Mobile, unknown if above, Q. So it looks like Q pretty much is angry, saying that nothing is being done. A lot of it happens behind the scenes. A lot of it is happening. And again, did you think that the deep state was just going to roll over and Q, the president, the rest of the patriots just going to come out and say, hey, you're guilty? You think this was going to be that easy? You have to dig up facts. You have to get the information. You have to make a case. It has to be complete, or it's not going to work. Think about a real court case. I mean, we've been brainwashed for a very long time with the mainstream media, the deep state, thinking like, oh, we say this is happening, then you must believe. But to put someone into prison to show that they were doing something against the law, you need to follow the trail. You need to follow the money. You need to gather all the evidence, and you have to figure it out. Do you think they didn't cover their tracks? Do you think they just did it out in the open? No. Everything was done behind the scenes while they were in power. Now they're working to cover everything up while being investigated. And they're trying to stop by firing missiles, by doing other events. The deep state was never going to give that easily. They're always going to move forward. And yes, just because Q says something was going to happen in July or June, it might be pushed off. Because again, you have the other side fighting back. But the point is, we're fighting. We're moving towards a goal. And you can see how much has been done. I mean, go back a year ago. Look how much has changed. And much more is going to change. And you can see already that things are changing. And we're moving forward here. Let's move on to post 1747. And this says, and there's a picture here with a lot of links here. All for baseless conspiracy. Enjoy the show. Sample 2. Gave links to Twitter and many other links here. Something big is about to drop. And Q is out there telling us that something is going to happen here. POTUS has already released the FISA on Carter Page to get the ball rolling. He's going to release more and more and more and more and show what has been happening. And this is what we see happening right now. We're moving in the right direction. Yes, it takes time. To do it properly, yes, it takes time. An investigation takes time. Building a case takes time. A real investigation doesn't happen in a day. Yes, the deep state, the mainstream media, they can say, hey, listen, Sony Pictures was cyber attacked. We know who it is. 2 days later, it's North Korea. That's a setup. That's not an investigation. That was a false flag. They set it up. Every time they have one of these shootings or anything else, and they know who the person is, or you find the passports on the ground or anything like that, that is a setup. A real investigation is looking and following the money, documenting everything, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure you have an airtight case. That is what is going on right now. And do you really care if it takes 4 months or 8 months if the results are the same? Don't you want them to stick? Of course you do. We all do. And that's what is happening right now. And it's one step at a time. And again, you also have another force here. You have the deep state. The deep state has been in the government for a very long time. They infiltrated every department. They infiltrated the intelligence agencies. They infiltrated everything. And there's still individuals there. Look at this. You have Facebook being sued. Who's the head of the SEC? Peter Strzok's wife. All these people were put into senior positions on purpose to make sure they can control everything. And you just can't remove every single person. First of all, the president doesn't have that power just to go into every single agency and just remove everyone. So it's going to take a little time. It's going to take a little time to work around these people and to force these individuals into doing an investigation while you research these individuals and try to remove them from their position. I mean, think about what has been happening. How many people have been removed from their position because they weren't doing their job or they're corrupt? And we're going to find out there's going to be a lot more people, or these people are going to resign because they don't want to be found out. So we see right now we're definitely moving in the right direction. And this release of this unredacted FISA memo for Carter Page, not fully unredacted, just certain portions and things. This is just the beginning stages. As we move forward, we're going to see a lot more of this. This will bring down the entire house. This will bring down the entire system. And this is what Q has been leading us into, where he's saying, or she's saying, or the group of people are saying that people are going to reject this. people are not going to understand this. People are going to freak out about all of this. And all of this is about